We had a bit of an explosive last day of the trading week for some of our Bitcoin miners, some not so much. We're going to take a look at them real quick. We'll just do a very quick weekly recap with the weekly candles on top after I talk about the dailies. So, anyways, Bit Digital, we're going to begin with Bit Digital. Bit Digital went up today 14.8% on the news that their AI customer asked them to double their capacity for their AI needs. That was fantastic. They are on track to reach that $100 million of revenue a year from their AI business. That is fantastic. That is just really good for them overall. Now, how did this price action move today? Now, we broke away from this descending channel. We are fully outside of it now. We are likely going to stay out of it now with this good news. We came just right shy of $3. We went up to $2.97. And we hit some resistance there, which just so happened to be the 200-day moving average. That is our next obstacle. We get above the 200-day moving average, and we are going to start seeing some nice moves up on this stock. We also moved up on growing volume today, and that was fantastic. So we've been having volume honestly growing since we got this first red candle back here on March 24th. We've been seeing volume kind of increase since then. It was started off negative, but now it's becoming positive, especially off of that good news. So that's great for Bit Digital. Right now we're at 287, 286 in post. Our support is at about 261, 262 is like solid support. About look here, about 280-ish. We have light support, and below that we have much stronger support about 260. Resistance above $3. Above $3, though, we don't really see much in terms of resistance until we get back up to about 330. Let's take a look at the volume profile to confirm some of this. All right. Yeah, about 315 to 320 as our next bigger resistance levels once we get above $3, and then we'll be fighting our way up to about 350, and then above 350 to $4 is pretty open on Bit Digital. Let's look at the weekly on Bit Digital. 1 week candle. Let's see how it closed on the week. The Bit Digital weekly candle actually looks really good. This is a nice big solid bodied candle, not much in terms of wicks, small wick on the top, slightly bigger wick on the bottom. We closed above the body of these two red candles in the past, and above this one right here, right at the top of the body of this red candle back here. Would have been even better if we'd gotten up to 311 and closed above the body of this other big red candle, but that's okay. What we've got here is looking bullish on the weekly chart for Bit Digital. I really like that. The RSI is back above 50 on the weekly chart. That means we are in bull territory for Bit Digital. This is all very good. This week was absolutely fantastic for this stock. Bit Farms went 3% up today, which is very promising after that bad news about the CEO stepping down earlier this week. This shows that the market is actually accepting this news. It's not as bad as we thought it would be. It's probably going to end up being a bit of a nothing burger, like I mentioned before. We had that wick on the bottom of yesterday's candle, even though we went down pretty far, almost to $2. Today we got a nice big wick on top, which isn't great, but considering the bad news from last week or earlier this week, and we had a positive day today, I'm not concerned about that wick on top. That's really not that scary, considering that it is likely only due to that bad news that we got earlier this week. So how far up did we open today from yesterday? We opened up about right there. It's about 8-9%. About 8-9% is where we opened up today in terms of being up, and we closed being only 3.24% up. But that's super promising considering that really bad news that we got earlier this week. So that shows that the market is somewhat bullish on Bit Farms despite this really bad news coming out for them and their leadership right now. So I'm actually feeling optimistic about that. Let's look at the weekly on here. It is a doji candle. It looks exactly like last week. We basically haven't moved. We basically just gave back what we earned last week, and we had a similar doji here. We need to get honestly above this 220, this 240 level, and above the 200 week on the SMA for Bit Farms before we have a chance at moving up higher and looking at these previous highs on Bit Farms. I'm going to get rid of this ascending channel because that's really not in play anymore. This ascending one is. All right, let's go. So really, we just got to stay above $2. and then slowly get up and above 244 to really move anywhere on Bitfarms. This weekly is just saying doji, probably going to see more indecision next week. We need to see this RSI improve for the weekly on Bitfarms. And aside from that, that's really just a waiting game right now for this bad news to shake out, for the market to embrace Bitfarms again, for Bitfarms to deliver on some of their hash rate goals. I mean, honestly, they deliver on some of those hash rate goals and they do it soon, and we'll be seeing some explosive growth just like with Bit Digital that we saw today. Let's move on to Mara. Mara was disappointing today. Super disappointing. Okay, so yes, we closed the day up on Marathon, but look at that massive wick on top. This is different from from Bitfarms because Bitfarms is coming out of some really bad news. Mara isn't. Mara is just Mara. In fact, they're talking about buying up and doing self-custody of their mining sites that they weren't doing before, which is why they have so much problems with keeping it efficient and keeping their uptime going. So this big wick on top, I don't like it. I would think, and I am attributing some of it to short selling, because there are a lot of shorts on Mara. Mara gets shorted a lot. So does Riot, but Mara really gets slammed with those. Like anytime we see any positive moves since we got up to $34. It's just been intense selling anytime we get like a nice good day. It's either that same day or very soon after we get some very intense selling on Mara. It's been kind of honestly frustrating is to watch this thing go up and just immediately get swatted down all the time. But how high did we go? All right, so we opened up the day 10.56% above yesterday's closing price, and we ended today only up 2.31%. RSI looks good. We are moving up, making higher highs and higher lows. I hate this wick on top, though, right now for Mara, solely because there really was no reason for us to get completely swatted down like that for Mara today. I mean, maybe there's some news, and I'll find it later, and I'll bring that to the attention over the weekend. But yeah, I mean, the weekly close, not as bad. Honestly, it's not as bad. I do expect Monday to probably not be that great for Mara, considering today's candle. We do have a bit of a doji candle on the last 2 weeks, but this week is higher than the week prior, so that's good. We really did need to close above 2250, where are we at? 2260, 2270, right around there. We really wanted to close above that to really be more bullish on this scenario. I do see us potentially coming back and touching 20 one more time next week or the week after on Mara. It seems like it really just likes coming back to this level right here, like this 1980, 1970 level here, and it might try to retrace to there one more time before launching off. I mean, we are getting stuck beneath the 15-day SMA right now. RSI though is at 53, so that's actually really good on the weekly. It's bullish. It's in bull territory. It's just really having a hard time getting past these short sellers. And in fact, we'll look at that right now. If we look right now on Marathon, we are actually seeing 16, almost 17% of the float is sold short. So there is a bearish tendency to it. There is a according to Market Beat, a potential 15.6% downside to 1947, which is very, very close to my line here at 1980. It's exceptionally close to that line that I've been holding on the chart for a while. So if we go to the short interest, let's look at it. Currently, there are 267 million outstanding shares for Mara. That's huge. The short volume is 45 million. We have an increase of 15% short interest on Mara. Now, that could be good if Mara can go up and close higher on Monday. We could see a pretty sweet short squeeze. And that is probably why it got beaten down today, to prevent a short squeeze from today, on today. But yeah, we see some moves up on Mara. Like any big move up on Mara that holds, we're going to see a short squeeze. Like that's just how that's going to be. And that could be very exciting. But until that happens, this thing keeps getting beaten down, and it's likely being beaten down by these short sellers on Mara. So there's a similar thing happening with Riot, and we'll take a look at that too as well. See, CleanSpark today was down 8.22%. Was it a buy the dip scenario. Of course, this is not financial advice nor a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever, but I will tell you that I personally did buy more Clean Spark today. This is potentially a dip before the rip on Clean Spark after the halving. I'm very much interested in purchasing Clean Spark closer to $20. But this might be as low as we get. Who knows? It might come back to 20. It might go all the way back to 15. I can't say for certain. I do not have a crystal ball. I cannot predict the future. But when I see Clean Spark down 8% in one day, I buy some Clean Spark because I like Clean Spark. Uh, so that's what I did with that today, and I'm actually not feeling too bad about that whatsoever. But it's been down. Let's take a look at the weekly on Clean Spark. We are still in overbought territory for Clean Spark. There is a very ugly wick on top of the Clean Spark weekly candle, looking a little bit like this one back here. That is looking a little bit like a blow off top. It is. And we could open up Monday down, significantly, maybe even down around 18 or $19. That could happen. Just like last time we got that huge wick on top. This is a bit of a shooting star candle. I don't like it. It's not a good candle. It isn't. We could totally open up 10 or 15% down on Monday just off of how ugly that candle is. It could happen. Like somewhere like maybe not that far. Let's see. How far would be down here? Oh yeah, no, that'd be exactly a 14-15% almost if we went down to my line at $18. We could that could totally be the case, just like it did here on March 4th, where it opened up significantly lower than the week before. Let's take a look. It opened up 17% lower that week, following week. So we could see something like that similar. This candle is indicating it is a bearish candle, a bearish weekly candle. We are overbought currently. We are doing RSI divergence to the upside, meaning that if we do come down, it could be dramatic. Clean Spark does need to get some reset of the momentum indicators to be really wanting to move back up again, and it's getting that on the daily. On the daily, we came down to 56 on the RSI. That's great. I wouldn't mind seeing a 50 retracement on the RSI for the daily, like we've done already twice now. This would be the third time, and then we'll just continue carrying on up. Like we might come to the 15-day moving average, or somehow $19, we might wick below it down to 18, and then move up from there. We'll see. That's what I'm expecting, something like that. But I'm, happy to buy on the way down just in case that is the bottom, so I don't miss the bottom. Let's take a look at Riot really quick. Riot was actually, it did nothing today. It was flat, 0% for the day. Nothing. It's not going up or down from this $12 level. It is forming a wedge here that you can see right there, like this wedge right there, and another one right there. It is making a wedge right there at this price. If we break above 1260. 1260 is what I'm looking at. I'm looking for it to go above $12.60, preferably all the way up and above the 50 and 200 SMA here at 1283. And once we get above that, once we conquer that, we're looking at coming back to that $15 level here before we hit that volume wall that I showed you on the volume profile before. In fact, I'll bring it right back up right now. Right up here, boom, right up to $15 before we are through with this pocket. Like we're just hanging out right at the base of this volume pocket. And once we get some liftoff from the base of this volume pocket here, we're going up to $15 on Riot. It's gonna happen. The question is, how long is Riot gonna take to get there? And I don't know about you, but it feels like watching paint dry right now. It's kind of annoying and frustrating. But it is slowly working its way there. Eventually, it will be allowed to. And part of the reason it's not, again, is like Mara, it has a lot of short sellers. There is a lot of invested interest in holding the stock down for as long as possible. Eventually, it will fail, and when it does, it will be catastrophic for the shorts and will be very good for those of us holding. Let's take a look at the weekly. The weekly wasn't great on Mara. It looks similar to Clean Spark, but not quite as bad as a candle. We got a nice big wick on top. We are significantly higher than last week's doji candle, so it is still bullish, but we're not quite there on the RSI. We got a little bit further movement to go on the RSI before the weekly is bullish. But again, we're right at the top of this volume wall here. We're just hanging out right at the bottom of this void here, and if we get up just a little bit. There's nothing in the way of us going up to $15. If we go just a little higher and close, that would be fantastic for Riot. And for now, we're just kind of watching it grind up, and it's a little bit boring. Let's take a look at their short interest. Riot actually has 18% short interest. 18% on their 253 million shares. They have 18% of those are short. Um, that's significant. Like what was it when GameStop got their short? It was less than that. I can't remember what it was, but it was maybe like it might have been 20% or something like that. But they were also doing synthetic shorts. Doesn't matter. The 18%, anything above 10% is a significant short interest. And if the price were to move up and close that high, all these shorts would get wiped out, meaning we would have a short squeeze. So Riot is actually in an even better position to see a short squeeze on its stock than Mara is. And if we were to see that, that $15 would come in real fast. So I'm actually watching out for that. I'm waiting for it, watching for it. It's going to be very interesting when it does happen. I'm just getting kind of annoyed waiting for it. And you can see here, we do have a Keltner channel Bollinger Band squeeze right up here indicated by these plus signals on these plus signs on my indicator. And I do expect, since we are near the bottom of this move on this thing, that we will be coming up kind of quite aggressively once this squeeze starts releasing the pressure that it has. Last time we got a release of that pressure from the short squeeze or from the Bollinger Band Keltner channel squeeze, we moved from $10 all the way up to $20. We've doubled. So if we did that now, it'd be $24. Bitcoin itself closed the day up 2%. That's not bad. $70,000. We're holding above that $70,000 level. There are some invested short interests here at about 74K. Once we take that level, and we eventually will, we're going to see a big move up to $80,000 pretty quick on Bitcoin. Again, I do think that my idea is still in play. We've got a bull flag going on right now that could take us up to previous highs of about 73,800, and then see a bit of a pushback down by the short sellers down to 68, 69,000, and then launch from there off of that handle, making a nice cup and handle. I'm going to keep saying that until it is proven that it is not happening. But until it doesn't happen, I do think that it probably is looking to make that formation. Now, of course, I would wait for confirmation, and confirmation would be forming the handle and breaking above the brim of the cup, which is at 73,800. Before making any moves on this, of course, unless I'm looking at long term, in which case I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. But that's still what I'm kind of watching for. Slowly waiting for this cup to form and move on up from there, probably to about the $80,000 range. Let's see. I mean, I wonder where we're going to close before the halving. How high can we get before the halving? Can we do 80,000 before the halving? Can we do 100,000 before the halving? Let us know down in the comments what you think that Bitcoin is going to do before the halving, because it's coming up fast. Are we going to close out at a new all-time high before the halving? Or are we going to come back to some lower levels, maybe in the 60s or 50s, leading into the halving, and then launch off from there when supply is cut in half once more? I can't say for certain. I know what I think is going to happen. I do think that we'll probably capture that $80,000 ahead of time, but we'll see going into it. And with that said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.